Hi everyone, this is Knut from the Virinco sales team. Today I'm going to take you through an introduction of the WATS asset management. So hopefully you can all hear me, and if you do, please give me a thumbs up. Great. Okay, I've prepared a little agenda for today. So first of all, why should we have asset management in WATS? What sort of asset types do we have, and how do we set them up? How do we report on asset usage in WATS? And we want to know how we can get alarms and notifications. And I want to talk briefly about what we're planning for the future when it comes to analyzing data, including assets data in WATS. So why should we have asset management in WATS? Well, the primary reason is that wear on your equipment, it may affect results of your tests. And that being test probes and connectors and fixture parts that needs maintenance. The other thing is electronics that change over time, and that may have an undesired effect on your test results. And of course, you have to do necessary calibration to make sure or ensure that the quality of your measurements are good. Secondary reason is, well, first of all, just knowing where the assets are located and whether it's operational or not. And we have multiple states that you can add to the assets in WATS to let you know whether it's in or under repair, under maintenance, or even under transport from one site to the other. And what is the age of the equipment that we are using? And when was it first seen? And what is the history? So let's have a quick look at different asset types. This is just an example. They may look different, of course, but this is a Virinco test station and one of our fixtures. And in our ATE, we have a lot of instruments that require calibrations. We have power supplies, PXI modules, we have power loads, power supplies, and multimeters, but we also need to do usage control on the MAS interface or record the usage. When it comes to the fixture, we want to track usage on all the mechanics, connectors, probes, pneumatics, light guides, and we need to calibrate the electronics as well. In WATS, we can get asset information in multiple ways. Now, this is just a short example. The two typical methods of integrating with WATS is either using your existing asset tool or ERP system where you have the assets built and import it using the REST API. For customers that don't have this asset information in a different system, you can build it entirely by using the control panel, and that's where we're going to spend a lot of our time today. The information is sent back and forth to the WATS client, but we can also use both the client and REST API to get information on the assets. So any asset information that resides in the control panel, you can get or you can put data using LabVIEW and Python, meaning you can create assets when they are connected in your tests. And you can verify that the asset is suitable for use before you run a test and get notification if there's a requirement or a need for maintenance or calibration. We also introduce the asset information in the test report. We can put information on the use directly in the test report header. And this requires that the asset is built and maintained in, not built, but it's maintained. It's already existing in the control panel. And we're going to have a closer look at that later on. So to get started, we need to go into the control panel. And under System and Assets, we have asset types. Now, we can create as many asset types as we need, but keep in mind, we can use them multiple times. This is just an example. So I have an AT and a fixture, and I have a default fixture, and I've added some counters to these assets. So we have the running counter. I can use my AT 1,000 times before I do maintenance. The total count is 10,000, and I've added calibration and maintenance interval in days. And I want to be warned, so I can get alarms when I reach the warning threshold, so I know that calibration or maintenance is coming shortly. And I want to get an alarm. So if we pass that threshold, we can do or take immediate action. In the asset manager, we build the assets themselves. So in this case, I have my test station, the VTP Solar. I have my fixture, and we're going to have a closer look at this dock from Keysight. And when I build the assets, I need to add some information. So I give it a name. I need to record the serial number of it. I can give it the part number, the revision. I can also give it the stage of the asset. So in this case, it's in storage. So before I take it in use, I would have to change that. I have to select the asset type, and that's maybe the most important part. And this has to, or the asset type has to reflect the usage, calibration, and maintenance intervals of the asset that you are creating. We give it a location to know where it is. We can, of course, change this information as we go. So let's have a closer look. I've added a picture, so I know what type of asset it is. I want to know how it looks. I've added my correct asset type, so I have my running counter and total counter. They are not set, they are unlimited, but I do have my calibration and maintenance interval in days set up. I've added a tag so that I know which asset this is, and I can use that in analysis, and I can use it to find my asset. And I've also added some documentation so that I have all the necessary files, all the necessary information, instructions in one place, being WATS. Under the log, I can find any updates or changes that has been performed on this asset. So anything from changing status, changing names, doing calibration or maintenance, or resetting those counters will be recorded in the log. And this can be done either directly in WATS when it comes to resetting the calibration and maintenance intervals, or through the REST API. So let's have a look at the fixture as well. I've added the fixture, added a new picture of it. It is in operation. I have a description. Now, this time I have running counter set. So I need to do maintenance when I've used this asset 10,000 times. When I've reached 1,000,000 times, it's done. I need to replace it. I've also set the calibration and maintenance interval in days. Again, in the tags, I've added my fixture ID, so it's easy to identify when I use it in my test reports. And I have any wanted documentation. So I have the layout of the fixture, and I have the overview of it. And again, in the log files, we can see that my colleague Mats, he reset the maintenance counter on this fixture in August last year. So we've introduced the assets to WATS. Now let's have a look how we can get this information out or see the state of the assets when we look at the test records in WATS. When we add asset information in the test record, we have a subsection of the header to add it. So we add the asset serial numbers, and we add the number of times that we use this asset during the test. And this test record will always reflect the state of the asset when the test was performed. So in this case, the instrument, my instrument 1234, it was used 1,025 times. It was calibrated 7 days prior to this test, and it had 83 days left until maintenance. The fixture was used once. It since reset, it has been used 10,014 times in total. It was 3 days since the last calibration and 3 days since the last maintenance. In addition to getting this information in the test report, we can do yield analysis based on the assets as well. So in the dynamic yield report, you can add asset name and asset serial number to the grid. In my case, I have part number leading the yield analysis, but I could change that up. So I could have my asset serial number or my asset name as the starting grouping. Or I can drag the asset serial numbers into the grouping section and get the yields for my different part numbers tested using these assets. This is not default, but it's easy to set up. In the alarms and notification section of WATS, we can create alarms for assets in addition to other types like yield and reports. And in this case, I've set an asset warning for usage. I'm going to use assets as type. I don't want to have this warning repeated throughout the day, so I have an action cooldown. And whenever my asset reach the warning level, I will get notified, and any other member of the manager team in WATS will get an email as well. Now, I see that this webinar is going along rather quickly, and we will save some questions till the end. The future of asset reporting in WATS, well, first and foremost, it will be correlations between the asset counters and the usage and the results coming from your measurements. This is a feature that we're looking forward to presenting, and it is in the backlogs. And next up will be using WATS Alva to see and solve issues with assets as a dimension. Today we can use a lot of different dimensions from the header information in your test records, but currently not assets. So I hope these are features that will be valuable moving forward and give more of you interest in using assets in WATS as well. Well, it was a bit shorter than announced, but if you have any questions, please let me know, and I'll try to answer them as well as I can. Otherwise, I'll say thank you all for listening, and hope you have a nice day. I've received one question, and it's whether I can give an example on how to implement it in test stand. Unfortunately, I don't have it prepared. And to the one asking, I will follow up with instructions on how to implement it directly to you by email. I hope that's fine. So if there's no more questions, I'm gonna close down the webinar now. So again, for those of you listening, thank you for joining. And if any questions comes up, please use support or contact your primary contact at Virinco directly, and we'll help you get started. Have a nice afternoon.